Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS NFL Week 2. Running behind today. Got to finish the spreadsheets tonight. So I'm just going to post what I have. I went through like 6 or 7 games. Starting next week, because the spreadsheets are done, the spreadsheets will be posted. I'll let those of you know who are looking for those where you can find them. They'll be up on, I think, Tuesday night. And then B, starting next week, I should be able to get through every game because the spreadsheets help me make these videos fast. So that's good news. Bad news is I'm only able to go through 6 or 7 games in this video. Fired up right now. Just hit West Virginia money line. That just happened like seconds ago. So that was electric. Awesome game. The backyard brawl. For those of you that watched it, the place is on fire. So much fun. Georgia, Tennessee went to overtime too. So great college football in the afternoon. Yeah. NFL Week 2. Whatever I don't get to in this video, obviously we'll talk about on the live show, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I mean, it's Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points. I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Bears, Lions. Well, we talked about the Bears' upgraded offensive line. Did it work in the opener? Not really. Caleb Williams was under a ton of pressure. He was pressured on over 45% of his dropbacks in the opener. Only Cam Ward was pressured more. So Caleb Williams was the second most pressured quarterback in the NFL in that opener. Now, the good news, if you're a Bears fan, is Detroit's defensive front really struggled to put pressure on Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love was only pressured on 26.1% of his dropbacks in that game, and he made him pay for it. He had a passer rating over 147 when given a clean pocket. So not only did Detroit's pass rush struggle to get to Jordan Love, but it seems like the secondary was struggling in coverage as well. Now, credit to Detroit's defensive line. They looked significantly better in the second half. Specifically, they started hitting Josh Jacobs in the backfield. In the first half, Green Bay was averaging 1.56 yards before contact. In the second half, it was -1, and it kind of threw the entire Packers offense off. In fact, in the second half, the Packers offense didn't look nearly as good, and the Lions defensive line was definitely starting to win some battles up front. So if you're a Lions fan, it looks like your defensive line started to show some life there in the second half, and you got to keep in mind you're dealing with the new defensive coordinator here in Detroit. McNeil, your defensive tackle, is still out. So maybe it just took a half to get going, because in the second half, it looked like the Lions defensive front, it started to look like we expected it to look. So I think the Lions defensive line will be fine. As far as the Bears offensive line, I don't know. And Caleb Williams, man, I'm just not sure. He didn't play well at all. And this is coming from somebody that I defended Caleb Williams a decent amount last year. He had no protection, and I said things like, guys, there's a lot of rookie quarterbacks that would really struggle like this. In their first year, a lot of great quarterbacks that turned out to be great quarterbacks that would look like shit behind that offensive line. I defended him a lot last year. It was really tough to defend him in week 1. I mean, a lot of missed throws, bad decisions, just that one play where he stepped on the sideline for a 5-yard loss when the Bears needed points on that drive. Just a lot of bad decisions. It's not a good sign if you're a Chicago Bears fan. So as a whole on this side of the ball, I think we see a much stronger effort out of the Lions defense. And look, I know it's only been 1 week and we don't want to jump to crazy conclusions, but I'm not sure if I trust this Bears offense with Ben Johnson to work. I don't trust Caleb Williams. And that was shockingly bad in week 1. So I think the Lions defense is going to get the better of the Bears in this one. And I think we're going to see a good performance from them. Now on the other side of the ball, the Bears defensive numbers do look pretty good. I mean, as a whole, this is for the entire game. They're a bit misleading because it was a tale of 2 halves, and everyone watched that game, so everyone knows what I'm talking about. Down the stretch, the Vikings offense just could not be stopped, and the Bears defense looked terrible. They were getting blown off the line of scrimmage, blown coverages, wide open receivers, and let's give some credit to J.J. McCarthy. He made some tight throws there too. But the Bears defense down the stretch, when they needed this, they looked terrible. So it's tough to even have faith in the Bears defense right now. Now, you might say, Kyle, I have that same concern about the Lions offense and Jared Goff. And, I mean, I hear you. There's a lot of things going around on social media, people sharing Goff's record without Sean McVay or Ben Johnson. It's like 1-19 or something. I don't remember it offhand, but apparently he has a terrible record in games without Sean McVay or Ben Johnson, like a terrible record. So I get it. That's a little bit concerning, but in my opinion, we didn't learn anything from that opening week. Remember, guys, Jared Goff has always struggled outdoors. That's not new. That's been the case with Jared Goff over his entire career. If you watch this channel, we've been talking about that all the time. Jared Goff always struggles outdoors. On the road in Lambeau is not a good spot for Jared Goff. I'm not going to close the book on Jared Goff until I see him struggle in the dome, because that's been the story with Jared Goff. He's an absolute beast at home in this dome. So against a Bears defense that completely fell apart in the second half, Jared Goff, home opener in the dome where he's comfortable. I think the Lions offense is going to move the ball. And yes, I'm a little concerned with the interior offensive line. Clearly, it's not what it was last year. But I also think we need to accept that the Packers might be a really good football team. So back home opener, I think we see a much different version of the Lions offense. And another thing about that game, the opener with the Lions, they had 6 points or something at the half. They were moving the ball. They got stalled out for field goals, but they were moving the ball. That was a very slow half. They had 6 points at the half. They only got the ball 3 or 4 times in the entire half. So, yeah, I think the Lions offense looks a lot better. I'm on Detroit here. I have a Lions -4.5 ticket in my pocket.
Update. So I actually recorded that on Thursday afternoon. Obviously, the line's up to 6.5 now. And I think a reason for some of the move is how strong Green Bay's defense looked against Washington Thursday night. I mean, kind of makes me feel better. I'm on Lions -4.5 is the bet I have. And makes me feel better about my position, because we're all questioning the Lions offense and there's legitimate concerns there. But after seeing what Green Bay's defense did to Washington, an offense that I think we all know will be pretty dangerous, Green Bay just might have an elite defense. So makes me feel better about my position on Detroit -4.5. At the 6.5, honestly, I would still lean Detroit. I obviously, we're crossing over 6 now. We're getting into dangerous territory, but I would still lean Detroit at the 6.5. I think they win by a touchdown plus.
Seahawks Steelers, a lot to unpack here from these two teams in the openers. Both the Seahawks offense and the Steelers defense look terrible. I mean, the Seahawks offense, they're actually 9th in success rate somehow. I don't know how they're 9th in success rate. That offense didn't look good at all. It had its moments when the run game was working, but I'm a little worried about the Seattle offense. But on the other side, the Steelers defense was getting cooked by the Jets. And I mean cooked. The Jets were doing whatever they wanted against Pittsburgh's defense. I mean, with Justin Fields at quarterback, who had that on their bingo card? But we'll start with the Seahawks offense. And I got to say, I am worried about this interior offensive line here in Seattle. The 49ers were able to get pretty consistent pressure on Sam Darnold without even blitzing. I mean, they only blitzed on 26.9% of snaps. He was pressured over 38% of his dropbacks. So, yeah, they were able to generate consistent pressure on Sam Darnold without even blitzing. And if you take a look at the Seahawks offensive line here, remember, Christian Haynes is injured. That's one of their guards. So they've got a rookie starting at guard, and they've also got an inexperienced center. So I'm worried about the Seattle interior offensive line, and it showed in the opener. I mean, they're going on the road to Pittsburgh, and I know the Steelers' defense didn't look great in that opener, but back home, look, this defensive line is crazy. We might even see Derek Harmon make his Steelers debut. He missed the Jets game. Cameron Hayward's fine. By the way, he got banged up in the Jets game. He's fine. That defensive front on the road in Pittsburgh, with an inexperienced offensive line, inexperienced interior offensive line, they've got solid tackles.
Update. So this is another one that I recorded on Thursday afternoon, and there's all kinds of injuries on the Steelers defense that I did not see on Thursday. We talked about this game on the live show Thursday night, so they must have just popped up, or maybe I missed it. I'm pretty sure I looked on Thursday and didn't see them, but Joey Porter Jr. is out. Safety Deshaun Elliott's out. Alex Highsmith is limited. He's listed as questionable. Okay, Hayward and Watt. Oh, Derek Harmon's out. He's not going to make his Steelers debut. Hayward and Watt are good, though. So, I mean, dude, it's still going to be a struggle. Sam Darnold looked terrible, but the Steelers defense is actually kind of banged up right now. I didn't even realize this a couple days ago when I recorded that.
Yeah, I'm worried about Sam Darnold. I don't know. I don't think the Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball. This is going to be a rough one for Seattle offensively. And the Steelers defensive numbers week 1 on the road, I mean, this is a tough look. 32 points, 6.5 yards per play, success rate up close to 52% to the Jets, to Justin Fields. I get that, but it was the opener, and no one really knew. The Jets have a completely new coaching staff. Tomlin had no idea what they were about to do. They had no film. So there might have been an element of surprise there for the Jets offense. I'm not taking too much away from this. The Steelers defense is pretty loaded. They also have a brand new secondary, I should have mentioned. So it's the first time the secondary was playing together. Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Joey Porter, they never played together before. So I'm chalking it up to just didn't have any film on the Jets offense in the opener on the road. Back home against a weak Seattle offensive line, I think the Steelers defense looks elite. Now, on the other side, this is where I really like the matchup for Seattle. Now, I know these Seahawks numbers against the pass are definitely concerning. From the opener, Brock Purdy completed over 74% of his passes. From a clean pocket, he had a pass rating over 126. Brock Purdy played pretty well. That being said, Seattle was generating consistent pressure on Brock Purdy. They pressured him on over 43% of his dropbacks. He just was able to escape. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be able to escape that same pressure. And Aaron Rodgers was the man in the opener. What did he throw? 4 touchdowns, 22 of 30, 136.7 passer rating. Aaron Rodgers was excellent. He was only pressured on 26.5% of his dropbacks from the Jets. Seattle should be able to generate much more pressure than that. Look at this Seahawks defensive line. This is crazy. This was already an elite defense. It's year 2 in Mike Macdonald's system. So I already expected the defensive front to be, the entire defense to be better anyway. And then you add DeMarcus Lawrence. Look at that defensive line. Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams. This is a very good defensive front. And I think this pass rush is going to be all over Aaron Rodgers. I think the Seahawks defensive line is going to show out. So it would be an under for me. Can you still get a 40? It was at 40 before. Seattle. 40.5. Give me under 40.5. I lean towards the Seahawks, but I really don't trust the offense, and I would need a 3.5. So give me under 40.5 in this one. Buffalo on the road in MetLife. Both of these teams were in some wild openers. Not a ton of defense being played in either game. The Ravens-Bills game and the Steelers-Jets game. Check this out. Look at the Bills' defensive numbers from week 1. This is crazy. 9.3 yards per play allowed. 9.3. Ohio State doesn't do that to Akron. That's crazy to allow 9.3 yards per play and win the game. That's truly nuts. Is the Bills defense bad? Is the Ravens offense good? I think most of us would agree it's probably the latter. That new Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson has really developed as a passer the last couple years, and when they're on, it's pretty unstoppable, that Baltimore offense. So I don't think anyone really believes this Bills defense is bad. Certainly concerning, especially early in the season. And then in the Jets-Steelers game, kind of the same story. Jets didn't play much defense either. Not quite as bad as the Bills, with 6.1 yards per play, 49% success rate. But look at the offense. 32 points, 6.5 yards per play, 51.6% success rate. So this is crazy. Obviously, you wouldn't look at numbers like this from 1 week, but if we match up the Jets offense against the Bills defense, it looks like the Jets have a huge mismatch here. Like, oh, look at these. The Jets would go off against Buffalo's defense. But yeah, you got a Buffalo defense that looked terrible in the opener. You got a Jets offense that looked great in the opener. And specifically, this probably doesn't mean anything. I found it interesting, though. So I was looking at Justin Fields stuff from the opener. And Justin Fields, whenever he had a clean pocket, he made the Steelers pay for it. He was actually under a lot of pressure. The Steelers blitzed him 48% of the time. So the Steelers were sending blitzes at him. They were generating consistent pressure, 40% pressure rate. They were sending blitzes at Justin Fields. They were generating pressure on Justin Fields. And the pressure was working, 69.8 QB rating when pressured. But look what Justin Fields did when he had a clean pocket. Rating over 140. Justin Fields picking apart the Steelers secondary. I didn't have that on the bingo card, but he played really well when given a clean pocket, delivering strikes from a clean pocket. And the reason I'm bringing this up, by the way, let's get to the point. The reason I'm bringing this up, look at Lamar Jackson's numbers from week 1 against the Bills. They look exactly the same. The Bills were sending a lot of blitzes at Lamar Jackson, over 45% blitz rate. The blitzes were working. They generated pressure over 36% of the dropbacks, and the pressure was working. Lamar Jackson didn't have the best QB rating under pressure, but look what happened when Lamar Jackson had a clean pocket. Basically a perfect passer rating. So I don't know if we necessarily take anything away from that. I just thought it was interesting. I'll put the graphics next to each other. Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson, very similar looking stat lines. Both made the defenses pay when they had a clean pocket. So, hey, if you're a Jets fan, you're trying to score some points, you like the look of that. this Bills secondary may be struggling in coverage early in the season, and this is a secondary that's dealing with some injuries. They might get Tre'Davious White on the field. He didn't play in the opener. He's listed as questionable. He did participate in a light practice, so maybe they get Tre'Davious White on the field. But Teron Johnson, he's listed as questionable. He missed one practice, and then he participated in a light practice, so we'll have to wait and see with him. Ed Oliver is out. He was seen in a walking boot. So the Bills are going to be missing an important piece there on the defensive line. Matched up against the Jets offense, that's pretty healthy. I mean, even Mason Taylor, who's on the injury report listed as questionable, he participated in a full practice on Friday. So I would imagine he's good to go. Jets are fully healthy on this side of the ball. Well, fully healthy with the exception of Vera Tucker, who's out for the season. So I kind of think the Jets are going to move the ball a little bit in this game. Was what we saw last week a fluke? I mean, you do have to take into consideration the Steelers secondary is new. They have new pieces there that haven't played together. So might have been some of that. Might have been some of, I mean, no one really knew what we were going to expect from the Jets. I mean, remember, the Jets have a brand new coaching staff. No one knew what to expect from that offense with Justin Fields. So I'm sure there was an element of surprise there. The Bills now have a game of film. But based on what we saw last week, I think the Jets can move the ball in this game. I'm not expecting them to go off, but I think the Jets can move the football. Now, on the other side of the ball, obviously the question is, can the Jets stop Josh Allen? And based on what we saw in the second half last week, I don't think anyone can stop Josh Allen. That was pretty impressive. And the Jets defense was definitely not impressive in the opener. We do have to point out, Josh Allen does not have the best history in this building. He's made 6 career starts at MetLife. 83.9 QB rating, 83.9. That is not good. 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in MetLife. So he's actually struggled here. The Bills are 4-2, but there's some close games in there. So Josh Allen has not played well in this building, and we've seen this story before. Josh Allen and the Bills offense looks unstoppable. They play a Jets team that's usually bad. They're laying a big number, and everyone's expecting the Jets to just get killed. And Josh Allen doesn't play well. Like, we've seen that exact movie before. It's tough to visualize before it happens, but it has happened multiple times. Josh Allen struggled here in MetLife. Now, what concerns me for the Jets defense, not only did the Steelers light them up, but specifically, they really struggled to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Just a 26.47% pressure rate, and that's pretty much the number one thing they needed to do last week was get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And that's exactly why I'm scared to take the Steelers against the Seahawks, because I think Seattle can generate pressure on them. The Jets couldn't. They blitzed 35.29%, pressured under 27% of his dropbacks. So that concerns me, because if Josh Allen has time to throw in the pocket, I would imagine he's going to make the throws. But regardless, like I said, the Jets defense just always seemed to give Josh Allen problems in this building. We do have to point out, this is a different Jets defense, though. I mean, it's no longer Robert Saleh's team. Jeff Ulbrich is no longer the DC. It's Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes coaching this defense now. So will it still be the quote-unquote no-fly zone for Josh Allen? I mean, this is a brand-new defense. It's pretty tough to say. Personally, I kind of think Josh Allen's going to move the ball, but I kind of thought I thought the same thing about Joe Burrow in the opener in Cleveland. I was like, I don't care about his history against Cleveland. This is a new year. The Bengals are under a lot of pressure. I think the Bengals are going to move the ball. Thank God I didn't bet that take, because that's not what happened at all. The Bengals didn't do shit in the second half. So even though my instincts wants to just throw the history out and just say, hey, Josh Allen's going to go off, I feel like we can't ignore those numbers. If I was to bet this game, I wrote down over 46.5 in my original notes from a couple days ago. It's at 47.5 now. I'll say the over. Oh, there's a flat 47. Give me the over 47. As far as a side, I mean, the Jets looked good last week, and I think they played well enough in front of their home fans where you got to keep in mind the Jets are similar to like the Bears, where the fans lose interest quickly. That's unfair. Sorry, Bears fans. But the Jets fans get pretty pessimistic pretty fast. That was a cool environment last week. A lot of Jets fans went out. They wanted to beat Rodgers, and they saw a great football game. They saw their new quarterback look great. I think the Jets played well enough in week 1 to keep the fan interest up. I think the place is going to be going nuts again. So I think the Jets are going to come out and give us a great effort. I'll give me the Jets plus 6.5. I don't have that bet as of right now. Yeah, I could see it closing at 5.5. So give me Jets plus 6.5. But as of right now, I don't have a bet on it. Rams, Titans in Tennessee. Well, Cam Ward definitely looked like a rookie in the opener. In fact, the entire Titans offense looked like a bunch of rookies. That was a poor offensive performance from Tennessee in the opener. 3.7 yards per play in the game. It's crazy that Denver pushed on that 8. Obviously, if you got -7.5, you won. But it's crazy that game was close because the Titans offense did literally nothing in the game. Success rate below 27%. Cam Ward's numbers looking very pedestrian here. The big number to take away from this graphic, he was pressured on 52.9% of his dropbacks. 52.9%, which was by far the most of any NFL quarterback. I think second was Caleb Williams at like 44%. So Cam Ward was under siege here in the opener, and Titans really couldn't do anything offensively. Now, you might be saying, well, Kyle, that's Denver. That's like the best defense in the NFL. It's an elite pass rush. And you're right, it is. But honestly, the Rams might have a top 5 pass rush themselves. The Rams had one of the sneakiest good defenses last year. This is a very good defense that didn't really get talked about much. They're going to have one of the best pass rushes in the league themselves. I mean, maybe not quite on Denver's level, but I wouldn't be surprised if this Rams defense is a top 5 pass rush. And I mean, top 5 defense in general. Remember, they added Nate Landman, too, the linebacker from the Falcons. This is going to be a very strong defense. So, I mean, yes, back at home is certainly going to be a better environment, but it's not like things get easier here for Cam Ward. This Rams defense played extremely well in the opener. They held Houston to just 9 points, 5.6 yards per play, success rate at 42.6%. Now, that indicates that Houston probably should have scored more than 9 points, but Rams defense looked lights out in the opener. Now, one thing I will say for the Titans is I don't think their offensive line is that bad. I think they will play better under Callahan as the season progresses, but I mean, they're going into this game without J.C. Latham at right tackle. He's going to miss this one. So to make matters even worse, they're missing the right tackle in this game. Yeah, I'm not sure if things get easier here for the Titans offense. I'm expecting the Rams defense to really show out on the road in this one. Now, on the other side of the ball, this is where we can give the Titans their flowers, and I think the Titans might have themselves a defense if everyone's able to stay healthy. They played so well. I mean, you got to take into consideration when we're looking at the Titans' defensive numbers in that game. The offense did them no favors in terms of field position, in terms of giving them time to rest. The offense essentially just gave the ball right back to Denver every single time, and they held the Broncos in Denver to 4.8 yards per play, just 20 points in the game, 42.6% success rate. Tennessee was right in the game up to the end because of the defense. And like I said, I think the Titans might have themselves the top 10 defense here. That wouldn't be weird. Last year, the entire Titans defense was hurt. You rewind 2 years ago, the Titans had a really good defense, especially against the run. So we definitely do need to show some respect to Tennessee's defense. One thing I want to say, though, the Rams offense looked way better than the final score indicates. You look at the scoreboard, what was it, 14-9, the final score? You might think, the Rams offense played terrible. That wasn't really the case. I mean, they averaged 6.1 yards per play, success rate over 46%. The Rams actually looked pretty efficient offensively. The 14 points they scored were both touchdown drives where they went the length of the field. They also drove into Houston territory several times and didn't come away with points. They fumbled the ball on the Houston 12-yard line. They punted the ball on the Houston 39. They punted the ball again on the Houston 49. So the Rams were moving the ball in the game. They finished the game with 14 points, but they were moving the football. The offense did look pretty good. And keep in mind, Stafford was pressured on over 40% of his dropbacks in the game too. So, I mean, Matt Stafford, not exactly a guy that's known for his mobility. He was under pressure, and the Rams still averaged 6.1 yards per play. So I really think the Rams offense looked pretty efficient in this game. Now, I don't want to act like I think the Rams are just going to go on the road into Tennessee and move the ball up and down the field against the Titans defense, which I think is pretty good. But I mean, they did just play Houston, who I think is a top 3 defense this year. So I do think the Rams are going to move the ball in this game, even though we do have to point out they're playing this one without Avila, the left guard. But the Titans are missing Sweat on the defensive line themselves. So kind of a trade-off there. I do think the Rams are going to be able to move the ball in this game. The Titans' defense is good, but I think the offense is so bad that it's going to be putting the defense in just positions where it's tough to succeed. So I like the Rams to cover the 5.5. I think it's going to be a slow-paced game. And so, yeah, I'm on the Rams. I also like the under, but as of right now, I don't have a bet in the game. Browns-Ravens in Baltimore. The Cleveland offense looked terrible. So did the Ravens defense. So as far as the matchup on this side, Both really struggled in the opener. One thing I will say, though, in terms of Joe Flacco, the numbers don't really tell the story. He played a lot better than these numbers indicate. I mean, the 2 interceptions are making all his QB rating numbers. They're flushing them down the toilet, those 2 interceptions. And both of those interceptions went off Cleveland Browns receiver's hands. Both of them went right off his receiver's hands. So they were definitely not his fault. He was very accurate in the game. He played well. Now, he wasn't amazing. He had 290 yards passing in the game. I mean, he dropped back to pass 45 times. So he wasn't amazing, but he was serviceable. Joe Flacco looked good. He was very accurate. What concerns me with this Cleveland offense is the offensive line. Look at this Joe Flacco graphic right here. Look at the bottom left, 12.5% blitz rate. Cincinnati was able to pressure Joe Flacco on over 37% of his dropbacks without blitzing. Cincinnati. So they were able to get pressure on Joe Flacco, just rushing their front 4. And look at the rushing numbers, 2 yards per carry. 49 yards rushing in the game. I mean, rushing success rate below 21%. Cleveland couldn't run the ball at all, and they couldn't protect Joe Flacco, even though the Bengals weren't even blitzing. The Cincinnati Bengals dominated the Cleveland Brown offensive line. If your offensive line is getting dominated at home by the Bengals defensive front, I think it's safe to say this is an area for concern. I mean, if you can't handle the Bengals defensive line, how are you supposed to handle Baltimore's defensive line? Keep in mind, this was arguably the best run defense in the NFL last year. They finished the season allowing less than 3.7 yards per carry, under 81 rushing yards per game allowed, under 30% success rate per rush. This was one of, if not the best run defense in the NFL last year. And even last week, yes, the Ravens defense didn't play well. They didn't get cooked on the ground. I mean, it was just Josh Allen. Josh Allen throwing the ball and Josh Allen running a little bit too. I mean, if you take out Josh Allen, the running backs had like 70 yards rushing in the game. So this Ravens run defense is intense. Cleveland couldn't even run the ball on the Bengals at home. So, I mean, if the Cincinnati Bengals defensive line dominates your offensive line, you go on the road to Baltimore, I got to imagine there's going to be some bullying there. The Baltimore defensive front should really have their way. Now, if you're betting Cleveland in this game, if you're taking the big number, you're looking right here. Baltimore's numbers against the pass. Josh Allen cooked on this Ravens secondary, especially in the second half. And Joe Flacco was throwing some accurate passes. So that's something. Joe Flacco, if he has time in the pocket, he should have opportunities to make some throws against this Ravens defense. And by the way, this is kind of the same exact thing that happened last year. If you remember the first 5 or 6 games of the year, the Ravens were allowing like 360 passing yards per game. It took them a couple months to get their pass defense together. So maybe we're having a similar start to the season here. So there probably will be opportunities for Joe Flacco to make throws, but without a run game, without a pass protection, I'd have to imagine that it's only a matter of time before there's a turnover coming or something. I mean, Joe Flacco is a serviceable, experienced veteran and all of that, but he's not Josh Allen in Buffalo. This is Joe Flacco on the road in Baltimore. So I don't think this Cleveland Browns offense is good at all. And I think they're going to struggle to move the ball in this one. I'm sure Joe Flacco will have opportunities to make throws, but as a whole, it's going to be tough to sustain drives here. I like the matchup for the Ravens defense. And on the other side, I mean, what Baltimore did last week, how they lost the game with these offensive numbers is just crazy. 9.3 yards per play. 9.3 yards per play in a losing effort is wild. That's what Ohio State does to Akron. I made the same joke when I was talking about the Bills. 9.3 yards per play. This offense looked absolutely unstoppable. Now, we do have to point out that Lamar has struggled with Cleveland over the years. Not quite as bad as Joe Burrow, but he's had some problems with the Browns' pass rush. And let's give the Browns some credit. On the defensive side of the ball, they played great. I mean, they allowed 2 yards per carry themselves, just like the Bengals did, just 46 yards rushing. I mean, their numbers against the pass also excellent. So the Browns defense completely showed out in week 1, and they definitely deserve some respect. But number one, that was against Cincinnati, and the Browns always seem to find a way to give Joe Burrow problems. And number two, that game was at home in Cleveland. Don't we remember that last year the Browns defense was a completely different animal on the road? I mean, they were one of the worst road defenses in the NFL last year. They allowed 27.7 points per game, 6.7 yards per play, success rate over 47%. I mean, this Browns defense couldn't stop anybody on the road away from Cleveland. So the way Baltimore's offense looked, the way Cleveland's defense played on the road last year, the way the Browns' offensive line looked, I mean, you got the Ravens pissed off coming off a loss on prime time. I just think this is going to be a blowout. This is probably a bad bet, laying a huge number in a division game, but I laid it. I'm on Baltimore minus 11.5 in this one. Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Both of these teams come out of week 1 with wins. At first glance, you might think the Jacksonville win is more impressive because, I mean, they won comfortably. They were in control start to finish, whereas Cincinnati's offense looked really ugly. It came down to the wire. Defense had to grab a pick at the end to win it. So I know at first glance, it seems like the Jacksonville win was a lot more impressive. But honestly, I mean, Cincinnati's on the road against a division rival that they always seem to struggle with. Jacksonville was at home against an NFC team, one of the worst teams in the NFL. So I honestly think the Cincinnati win is a little bit more impressive, even though the offense looked bad, and we'll get into that. But why don't we start on the defensive side of the ball? I mean, Cincinnati was out there playing some defense in the opener, allowing just 4.9 yards per play. In fact, the defense is what won them that game. We didn't say that many times last year. Now, I'm not going to throw the Bengals a parade for shutting down the Cleveland offense. The Browns had one of the worst offenses in the NFL last year. I would imagine they're going to have one of the worst offenses in the NFL this year as well. But still, they were pretty lights out. Now, obviously, Jacksonville has a stronger offense than Cleveland does, and they showed it in the opener. 6.3 yards per play, success rate over 48%. But the thing is, if you take a closer look, first of all, Trevor Lawrence did not play well in the game. He was not under pressure either, pressured on just 12.1% of his dropbacks. That's not pressured at all. If you're only pressured on 22, 23% of your dropbacks in a game, that's excellent. 12%, that's essentially no pressure at all. Still didn't play well. Trevor Lawrence was struggling to make throws in that game, just 178 yards passing. The reason the Jags offense found success was they were running it. 6.7 yards per carry, 202 rushing yards in the game, success rate per rush over 43%. Well, Cincinnati, now I'm not saying the Bengals have a good run defense. I'm just saying they shut the run down in the opener. On the road in Cleveland, held the Browns to 2.04 yards per carry. Success rate per rush under 21%. Lights out run defense for Cincinnati in the opener. And I was just talking about how Trevor Lawrence was experiencing no pressure at all. Well, Cincinnati was pressuring Joe Flacco. He was pressuring on over 37% of his dropbacks. I was just talking about this in the Browns-Ravens game. They blitzed him on just 12.5% of his dropbacks. So Cincinnati, as I was just saying earlier, pressuring Joe Flacco without sending extra rushers. We just saw Trevor Lawrence struggle against Carolina's secondary without experiencing pressure. So Jacksonville, if the run game's not going to be there, I don't know if it is or not. I'm just saying Cincinnati looked strong up front. They were pressuring Joe Flacco without sending extra rushers, and Trevor Lawrence had all day to throw and was struggling to make throws against Carolina. I think the Bengals defense can play well. Remember, it's a new defensive coordinator, and although I hate that they fired Lou Anarumo, maybe they needed a change of scene. Maybe they just needed a new face because they played some great defense in the opener. I think Cincinnati could play great defense again in this one. I really was not inspired by Trevor Lawrence's play in week 1. Now, on the other side of the ball, we do have to give Jacksonville's defense some credit. Just like Cincinnati, they played great defense, 4.5 yards per play, held Carolina to just 10 points in the game, 39% success rate. It was a very favorable matchup for Jacksonville, and that's why I bet the Jags. If you remember, I was talking about it. Bryce Young, so the new DC for Jacksonville, he came out and said they're going to be running a lot of zone coverage. He said that during camp. The reason I like that for the Jags is, number one, Bryce Young really struggled with zone coverage last year. I was talking about this. He threw like 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions against zone coverage last year. And number two, what do you need if you want to piece apart zone coverage? You need quarterbacks and wide receiving targets on the same page. And Bryce Young had all new receivers, injured receivers, so I really didn't like the matchup for Bryce Young at all. Well, now they're playing Joe Burrow, and I can assure you Joe Burrow certainly knows how to pick apart a zone, and he certainly has chemistry with his wide receivers. And Bryce Young was only pressured on 30% of dropbacks. If you're going to try to sit back in zone coverage with a questionable Jacksonville secondary and not pressure Joe Burrow, the Bengals are going to move the football. So I honestly like the matchup for Cincinnati on both sides. I probably should have tried to time it out and get a 3, but I was impatient. I just took a -3.5 plus 100. I mean, I probably should have waited it out, see if I can get a 3. This is probably not smart to bet it, but I did. I'm on Cincinnati -3.5 in this one. I think they win by a touchdown plus. I actually need to cut the video off there. I got to get some spreadsheet stuff done. Spreadsheets are going out this week, starting Tuesday, by the way. If you're one of the people that were waiting for the weekly spreadsheets, they start this week, and I got to finish them up. So got to get some spreadsheet stuff done. Starting next week, I should be able to get through every game. It's tough getting the season started. The data's all scrambled. So starting next week, I should be able to get through every game. As far as some other games, I'm on the Dolphins at -1, although there's some injury concern. I thought that was going to close at 3 when I bet it. Looks like it's probably not going to get to 3. It's at 2.5 now. But yeah, I'm on Miami -1. I'm on the Colts, but I got +3.5, and you can't get that anymore. I wouldn't play the Colts at under a field goal. In fact, if I can get like a Denver money line at -120, I might even try to middle that. Colts +3.5 and Denver money line. We'll talk about all this on the live show, 11 a.m. Eastern.